Welcome to our weekly roundup of key business developments in Sri Lanka. I'm Nishani Pigera. Let's first look at the main stories for this week. 1.5 billion Chinese swap facility extended. Private creditors debt deal latest by June. India's UPI payment system launched in Sri Lanka. In our main story this week, Sri Lanka reached an agreement with the People's Bank of China to extend the $1.5 billion bilateral currency swap to December 2024, as it is to expire in March this year. According to Dr. D.S.T. Vanaguru, Central Bank's International Operations Department Director, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka had reached an understanding with the People's Bank of China to treat the 3-year validity period of the swap facility as commencing from the moment it was drawn down in December 2021. The swap facility of $1.5 billion remain unusable due to Sri Lanka's reserves being less than 3 months of imports as required by the swap facility. The Ministry of Finance revealed that considerable progress has been made in regard to the debt restructuring negotiations with private creditors and that an agreement is expected to be reached within the first 6 months of 2024. K. Mahinda Siriwardana, Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, said that he is confident that Sri Lanka would reach an agreement with its private creditors before the IMF's second review. He added that they have been continuously updating the IMF on the progress. Sri Lanka's private creditors account for $12.5 billion, representing 34% of Sri Lanka's external debt. On Tuesday, the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals signed an agreement with US-based Shell RM Parks for the storage and distribution of fuel in Sri Lanka. CPSTL is now able to store and distribute Shell RM Parks petroleum products in Sri Lanka. In June last year, Sri Lanka signed an agreement with RM Parks in collaboration with Shell plc for a long-term contract for the importation, storage, distribution and sale of petroleum products in the country. Meanwhile, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and Mauritius Prime Minister Pravind Jugnauth launched the Unified Payment Interface Services in Sri Lanka and Mauritius. The launch enables availability of UPI settlement services for Indian nationals travelling to Sri Lanka. The Electricity Consumers Association requested the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka to not consider arbitrary expenses incurred by the Ceylon Electricity Board when approving the 3.34% proposed electricity tariff revision. In a letter to the Commission, the association claimed that the CEB has paid a high price of 120 rupees per electricity unit when only 56 rupees had to be paid for emergency power purchases, further stating that more than 5 billion rupees have been allocated for unlicensed power plants, 14 billion rupees for construction of power plants and 53 billion rupees for interest payments. In our weekly tourism update, during the first 12 days of February, over 90,000 tourists arrived in the country. Daily arrivals reached over 7,600 and the numbers are now above what was recorded prior to COVID pandemic. Russia was the primary source market, followed by India and the United Kingdom. SLTDA is expecting over 200,000 arrivals during the month, almost on par with January. Tourism earnings in January soared to $341.8 million, driven by over 200,000 arrivals in the month. This beat pre-pandemic levels and was just shy of the all-time high recorded in 2019. Sri Lanka is targeting to earn $4.6 billion from tourism this year. Now let's take a look at the weekly movement of the All-Share Price Index and the S&P SL 20 Index at the Colombo Stock Exchange. At the Treasury bill auction held on Wednesday, yields on all maturities significantly contracted for the 4th consecutive week. 182-day maturities fell the most at 117 basis points. Bids amounting to 280 billion rupees were received, of which 135 billion were accepted. The Sri Lankan rupee was steady against the dollar this week, with the central bank's indicative mid-spot rate ranging around 313 rupees. And with that, we wind up for this week. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel at the link below for regular updates on economic and business developments in Sri Lanka. Until we see you again next week, thank you for watching. Stay safe.